The year was 2247, and Earth had finally reached a point where humanity could no longer ignore the vastness of space. For decades, people had dreamed of meeting alien life, but most believed it would happen in some distant future. That all changed on a quiet Tuesday morning when a signal arrived from deep space. It wasn't just any signal, it was an invitation. A message written in perfect English invited humanity to participate in something called the Galactic Tournament. The sender identified themselves as the Krylosians, an advanced civilization that had been watching Earth for centuries. At first, many dismissed the transmission as a hoax or a prank pulled by tech-savvy teenagers. But when scientists analyzed the signal, they found it impossible to fake. The message came from a star system far beyond what humans could reach with their current technology. Governments scrambled to figure out how to respond. This wasn't just about science, it was about survival. If the Krylosians were powerful, enough to send such a message, ignoring them might mean missing out, or worse, angering them. After days of heated debates, the United Earth Federation decided to accept the invitation. They chose Captain Ryan Carter, a man known for his calm demeanor under pressure, to lead the human team. Ryan had spent years serving in Earth's defense forces, leading missions against pirates and rogue AI factions near Mars. He wasn't flashy or overly confident, but he had a knack for making hard decisions quickly. His superiors hoped this quality would serve him well in whatever awaited humanity at the tournament. Ryan's second in command was Elena Vega, a fighter pilot who grew up on one of the Martian colonies. She was fast, sharp, and fearless, qualities that made her perfect for high-stakes combat. Her experience flying through asteroid fields and dodging enemy fire gave her skills few others possessed. Though she rarely spoke about her past, those close to her knew she carried scars, not just physical ones but emotional ones too. Losing her family in a mining accident had hardened her, but it also fueled her determination to succeed. Completing the core leadership trio was Marcus Doyle, a former underground cage fighter who had turned his violent past into something useful. After years of fighting in illegal rings across Earth, Marcus joined the military, where his raw strength and unpredictability became assets. He wasn't always easy to work with. He had a temper and didn't like taking orders. But there was no denying his talent for hand-to-hand combat. When the Federation asked him to join the team, he saw it as his chance to prove himself not just as a soldier, but as a leader. As soon as the decision was made, the three began assembling their squad. They needed fighters who were versatile, quick-thinking, and willing to risk everything for humanity's honor. Volunteers poured in from every corner of Earth, eager to represent their planet on a galactic stage. Some were soldiers, others athletes or scientists, but all shared one thing: a burning desire to show the universe what humans were capable of. Training started immediately, though none of them truly knew what to expect. The Krylosian message hadn't provided many details about the tournament itself, only vague hints that it involved tests of skill, strategy, and spirit. Most assumed it would be some kind of sport, maybe similar to the ancient Olympics. Others feared it might involve actual warfare. Either way, the stakes were clear. If humanity failed, they risked being labeled weak and irrelevant in the eyes of the galaxy. During training sessions, tensions ran high. Marcus often clashed with Ryan over tactics. While Ryan preferred careful planning and teamwork, Marcus favored brute force and individual heroics. Elena tried to act as a mediator between the two, pointing out that both approaches had merit. Still, disagreements persisted, and the clock kept ticking down toward departure day. One evening, after a particularly grueling practice session, Ryan gathered the team in the briefing room. Holographic screens displayed images of the Nexus Ring, the location of the tournament. It looked like a massive floating city, its metallic surface gleaming with strange patterns that seemed to shift and shimmer even in still photos. Surrounding it were ships belonging to various alien species, each more bizarre than the last. "This is where we'll be going," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We don't know much about these aliens, but we do know one thing. They're stronger, faster, and smarter than us. Smarter than... We can't match them head on. What we can do is rely on our adaptability, Humans have survived wars, plagues, and disasters because we never give up. That's our edge. Elena nodded, her expression thoughtful. But will it be enough? These aliens probably have weapons and abilities we've never even imagined. It doesn't matter, Marcus cut in, slamming his fist onto the table. We fight smart, sure, but we also hit hard. They won't see us coming. Ryan sighed but didn't argue. Instead, he turned back to the hologram. Our goal isn't just to win matches. It's to show the galaxy that humanity deserves respect. Whether we come home victorious or not, we need to make them understand that we're not afraid to stand our ground. As the meeting ended, Elena lingered behind, staring at the image of the Nexus ring. Do you really think we're ready for this? She asked softly. Ryan hesitated before answering. No, he admitted. But we don't have a choice. Ready or not, we're stepping into the unknown, and if we want to survive, we'll have to learn as we go. Elena smiled faintly. Then I guess we'd better start learning fast. A week later, the team boarded the spaceship that would carry them to the Nexus ring. As the engines roared to life, Ryan stood at the viewport, watching Earth grow smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. He felt a mix of excitement and dread. Humanity was about to step onto a stage bigger than anyone had ever imagined, and whether they succeeded or failed, nothing would ever be the same again. The journey to the Nexus ring took nearly 3 weeks, during which the human team prepared as best they could. The spaceship, though advanced by Earth standards, felt cramped and outdated compared to the sleek vessels they occasionally passed in the void of space. Each encounter with an alien ship left the team awestruck but also uneasy. Some ships were massive, glowing with lights that pulsed like living organisms, while others seemed almost invisible, their surfaces blending seamlessly with the stars around them. It was clear that humanity's technology lagged far behind. During the trip, Ryan spent most of his time studying what little data they had about the tournament. The Krillosians hadn't provided many specifics, only cryptic descriptions of tests and challenges. He suspected these weren't just games. They were battles, possibly deadly ones. Still, he kept this suspicion to himself, knowing it would only increase the already high levels of anxiety among the team. Elena busied herself by running simulations on the ship's training equipment. She programmed drones to mimic potential opponents based on the limited intel they had. Her scenarios ranged from straightforward combat drills to chaotic free-for-alls involving multiple enemies. Though the simulations helped, they couldn't fully prepare the team for what awaited them. Every time she powered down the system, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. Marcus, meanwhile, grew restless. Confined to the ship with nothing but practice sessions to occupy him, he began challenging anyone who would agree to spar. His matches often ended with bruised teammates and broken equipment, earning him disapproving looks from Ryan. Yet Marcus didn't care. To him, the only way to get stronger was to fight harder, and if that meant pushing people to their limits, so be it. When the Nexus ring finally came into view, everyone gathered at the viewport, their breaths catching in unison. The structure was unlike anything they'd ever seen. It floated in the middle of a cluster of stars, its surface shimmering with colors that shifted constantly, as if alive. Towering spires jutted out in every direction, some ending in sharp points, others glowing softly like lanterns. Ships of all shapes and sizes orbited the station, forming a chaotic dance of arrivals and departures. As their own ship approached, the scale of the Nexus ring became even more apparent. It was larger than any city on Earth, its outer edges stretching beyond the horizon. Docking procedures were handled automatically, guided by an unseen force that seemed to anticipate their every move. When the airlock opened, the team stepped onto the station for the first time. The atmosphere inside was overwhelming. Strange creatures moved through crowded corridors, their appearances ranging from the grotesque to the mesmerizing. One group of aliens had crystalline skin that refracted light into rainbows, while another species floated silently above the ground, their bodies composed entirely of shifting energy fields. The air buzzed with languages unfamiliar to human. Ears, though translation devices embedded in their suits allowed the team to understand snippets of conversation. Ryan led the way, flanked by Elena and Marcus. They followed signs, symbols projected into the air, that directed them toward the registration area. Along the way, they attracted curious stares. Some aliens whispered among themselves, their tone mocking or dismissive. Others simply ignored, the humans treating them as insignificant newcomers. At the registration desk, they met one of the Krylosians for the first time. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, the creature's body was covered in smooth, metallic scales that glinted under the artificial light. Its eyes glowed faintly, giving it an otherworldly presence. The Krylosian greeted them politely but without warmth, confirming their participation in the tournament and handing over a holographic map of the station. "The first match will begin within 2 cycles, the Krylosian said, its voice deep and resonant. "Prepare yourselves." Before Ryan could ask for clarification, the alien turned and walked away, leaving the team standing there in stunned silence. 2 cycles? How long was that? They decided not to waste time trying to figure it out and instead focused on exploring the station. Their quarters were modest but functional, equipped with beds, storage units, and a small kitchenette. After dropping off their gear, the team ventured back into the main areas of the Nexus Ring. They found themselves drawn to a large arena-like structure where a demonstration match was taking place. Spectators packed the stands, their cheers echoing loudly throughout the chamber. What unfolded before them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. 2 teams of aliens clashed in the center of the arena, their movements faster than the eye could follow. Energy blasts lit up the space, accompanied by deafening booms. One alien, a hulking insectoid creature, leapt impossibly high into the air, landing on its opponent and reducing it to ash with a single touch. The crowd erupted in applause, but the humans watched in stunned horror. "That's insane," Elena murmured, gripping the railing tightly. "How are we supposed to compete against that?" Marcus cracked his knuckles, a grin spreading across his face. "Looks fun," he said, though his tone betrayed a hint of unease. Ryan remained silent, his mind racing. Whatever the tournament entailed, it was clear that humanity's usual methods of warfare wouldn't cut it here. Superior strength, speed, and weaponry were the norm, and humans had none of those advantages. But as he scanned the arena, observing how each species fought differently, he noticed something important. Not all victories came from raw power. Strategy, timing, and teamwork played significant roles too. After the match ended, the team returned to their quarters to regroup. Ryan called a meeting, pacing back and forth as he spoke. "We saw today what we're up against," he began. "They're faster, stronger, and better armed. But that doesn't mean we can't win. We have to focus on what makes us unique, our ability to adapt." Elena nodded, adding, "And our unpredictability. Most of these species probably haven't fought humans before. If we can surprise them, we might stand a chance." Marcus leaned forward, his expression serious for once. "So what's the plan? How do we hit them where it hurts?" Ryan stopped pacing and looked at each of them in turn. "We need to study their weaknesses, watch how they move, how they attack, and how they defend. Find patterns, exploit mistakes, and above all, trust each other. Out here, we're all we've got." Over the next day, the team dedicated themselves to reconnaissance. They attended more demonstration matches, taking notes on everything from movement styles to preferred weapons. Elena used her technical skills to analyze footage, breaking down each fight frame by frame. Marcus practiced mimicking the movements of particularly agile fighters, testing whether human reflexes could match alien speed. Ryan coordinated their efforts, ensuring everyone stayed focused and motivated. Despite their preparations, doubt lingered in the back of their minds. None of them had faced anything like this before. Would their strategies work? Or would they crumble under the pressure of true interstellar combat? Finally, the moment arrived. A message flashed on their screens. First match commencing in HFY 1 cycle. Their opponents were revealed to be the Vracs, a reptilian species known for their ferocity and cunning. Images showed the Vraks towering over humans, their claws gleaming menacingly. Panic threatened to creep in, but Ryan pushed it aside. "Remember why we're here," he told the team as they suited up. "This isn't just about winning. It's about proving that humanity belongs in the galaxy. No matter what happens, don't lose sight of that." With those words ringing in their ears, the team made their way to the arena. The crowd roared as they entered, a mix of curiosity and skepticism in their gazes. For the first time, humanity stood shoulder to shoulder with the greatest warriors in the cosmos. Whether they succeeded or failed, they knew one thing for certain: they were ready to fight. The arena was alive with noise as the human team stepped onto the battlefield. The crowd's cheers echoed like thunder, mixing with the hum of alien chatter and the occasional burst of energy from nearby weapons displays. Ryan, Elena, and Marcus stood side by side, their suits sleek but plain compared to the glowing armor and shimmering exoskeletons of other competitors. Despite feeling out of place, they held their heads high. This was humanity's debut on the galactic stage, and failure wasn't an option. Their opponents, the Vraks, entered moments later. Towering over the humans, their reptilian bodies were covered in thick, scaly hides that glinted under the arena lights. Sharp claws extended from their hands, and their eyes glowed with predatory intensity. They moved with a fluid grace that belied their size, each step deliberate and calculated. As the Vraks took their positions, the crowd erupted into cheers, clearly favoring the more intimidating species. Ryan glanced at his teammates. Elena adjusted her gloves nervously, while Marcus cracked his knuckles, a smirk playing on his lips. "Let's show them what we're made of," Marcus muttered, his voice low but confident. Ryan nodded, though he couldn't shake the knot of tension in his stomach. He reminded himself of their plan: adapt, observe, and strike where it mattered most. The arena itself shifted as the match began, morphing into a jagged landscape filled with steep cliffs, narrow ledges, and pools of bubbling acid rain. The ground beneath their feet trembled as massive boulders rolled into place, creating obstacles that forced the combatants to navigate carefully. Ryan quickly realized this wasn't just about fighting. It was about survival. One wrong step could mean falling into the acid or being crushed by debris. The referee, a floating orb of light, emitted a piercing tone, signaling the start of the match. The Vraks wasted no time, charging forward with terrifying speed. Their claws slashed through the air, narrowly missing Ryan as he dove behind a boulder. Elena fired her plasma rifle from a higher ledge, sending bursts of energy toward the advancing reptiles. Though her shots landed cleanly, they barely seemed to faze the Vraks, whose scales absorbed much of the impact. Marcus, meanwhile, darted straight into the fray, his fists clenched. He tackled one of the Vraks' warriors, using its own momentum against it to slam it into the ground. The crowd gasped, impressed by his audacity, but the Vraks recovered quickly, swiping at Marcus with razor-sharp claws. He barely managed to dodge, rolling away just in time to avoid losing an arm. "Marcus, fall back!" Ryan shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to stick together." But Marcus ignored him, too focused on proving himself. He charged again, delivering a powerful punch to another Vraks warrior's jaw. The blow sent the creature stumbling backward, but it retaliated with a tail whip that sent Marcus sprawling. Blood trickled from a gash on his forehead, but he grinned wildly, unfazed by the injury. "Come on, ugly," he taunted, beckoning the Vraks closer. His reckless behavior drew the attention of multiple enemies, leaving the rest of the team exposed. Elena noticed the danger immediately. She leapt down from her perch, landing gracefully beside Ryan. "We've got to help him," she said urgently. "If they gang up on him, he's done for." Ryan nodded, scanning the battlefield for an opportunity. "Cover me," he ordered, sprinting toward Marcus. Elena followed close behind, firing precise shots to keep the Vraks distracted. When Ryan reached Marcus, he grabbed him by the shoulder and yanked him upright. "Enough showing off," Ryan growled. "Stick to the plan." For once, Marcus didn't argue. Together, the three regrouped behind a large rock formation, catching their breath. The Vraks circled them cautiously, their glowing eyes tracking every movement. It was clear they saw the humans as prey, waiting for the right moment to strike. "We can't win this by brute force," Ryan said, his voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "We need to use the terrain to our advantage." Elena nodded, pointing to a series of narrow ledges above them. "If we can get up there, we'll have the high ground. They're big and strong, but they won't be able to climb as easily as—" "We can," Ryan agreed. "Let's do it. Elena, you go first and provide cover fire. Marcus, you follow. I'll bring up the rear." The plan worked, at least initially. Elena scaled the cliff with practiced ease, finding a secure position to fire from. Her shots forced the Vrax to retreat momentarily, giving Marcus and Ryan enough time to scramble up after her. From their new vantage point, the humans had a better view of the arena and could see how the Vrax operated. They relied heavily on teamwork, coordinating their attacks with eerie precision. But even the best coordination had gaps, and Ryan was determined to exploit them. As the battle raged on, the humans adapted quickly. Elena used her rifle to target weak points in the Vrax's armor, aiming for joints where their scales were thinner. Marcus hurled rocks and debris at the reptiles below, keeping them off balance. Ryan coordinated their movements, calling out strategies and adjusting their positions whenever the Vrax tried to flank them. Despite their efforts, the tide of the battle shifted when the Vrax unveiled a devastating weapon, a sonic emitter that sent shockwaves rippling through the arena. The humans clutched their ears as the sound waves hit, disorienting them completely. Marcus stumbled, nearly falling off the ledge, while Elena dropped her rifle, clutching her head in pain. Ryan fought to stay upright, his vision swimming as the world spun around him. Through the haze of agony, Ryan spotted the source of the attack, a smaller Virax warrior carrying the sonic device. If they could disable it, they might regain control of the fight. Summoning every ounce. The arena was alive with noise as the human team stepped onto the battlefield. The crowd's cheers echoed like thunder, mixing with the hum of alien chatter and the occasional burst of energy from nearby weapons displays. Ryan, Elena, and Marcus stood side by side, their suits sleek but plain compared to the glowing armor and shimmering exoskeletons of other competitors. Despite feeling out of place, they held their heads high. This was humanity's debut on the galactic stage, and failure wasn't an option. Their opponents, the Vrax, entered moments later. Towering over the humans, their reptilian bodies were covered in thick scaly hides that glinted under the arena lights. Sharp claws extended from their hands, and their eyes glowed with predatory intensity. They moved with a fluid grace that belied their size, each step deliberate and calculated. As the Vrax took their positions, the crowd erupted into cheers, clearly favoring the more intimidating species. Ryan glanced at his teammates. Elena adjusted her gloves nervously, while Marcus cracked his knuckles, a smirk playing on his lips. "Let's show them what we're made of," Marcus muttered, his voice low but confident. Ryan nodded, though he couldn't shake the knot of tension in his stomach. He reminded himself of their plan: adapt, observe, and strike where it mattered most. The arena itself shifted as the match began, morphing into a jagged landscape filled with steep cliffs, narrow ledges, and pools of bubbling acid rain. The ground beneath their feet trembled as massive boulders rolled into place, creating obstacles that forced the combatants to navigate carefully. Ryan quickly realized this wasn't just about fighting, it was about survival. One wrong step could mean falling into the acid or being crushed by debris. The referee, a floating orb of light, emitted a piercing tone, signaling the start of the match. The Vrax wasted no time, charging forward with terrifying speed. Their claws slashed through the air, narrowly missing Ryan as he dove behind a boulder. Elena fired her plasma rifle from a higher ledge, sending bursts of energy toward the advancing reptiles. Though her shots landed cleanly, they barely seemed to faze the Vrax, whose scales absorbed much of the impact. Marcus, meanwhile, darted straight into the fray, his fists clenched. He tackled one of the Vrax warriors, using its own momentum against it to slam it into the ground. The crowd gasped, impressed by his audacity, but the Vrax recovered quickly, swiping at Marcus with razor-sharp claws. He barely managed to dodge, rolling away just in time to avoid losing an arm. "Marcus, fall back," Ryan shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to stick together." But Marcus ignored him, too focused on proving himself. He charged again, delivering a powerful punch to another Vrax warrior's jaw. The blow sent the creature stumbling backward, but it retaliated with a tail whip that sent Marcus sprawling. Blood trickled from a gash on his forehead, but he grinned wildly, unfazed by the injury. "Come on, ugly," he taunted, beckoning the Vrax closer. His reckless behavior drew the attention of multiple enemies, leaving the rest of the team exposed. Elena noticed the danger immediately. She leapt down from her perch, landing gracefully beside Ryan. "We've got to help him," she said urgently. "If they gang up on him, he's done for." Ryan nodded, scanning the battlefield for an opportunity. "Cover me," he ordered, sprinting toward Marcus. Elena followed close behind, firing precise shots to keep the Virax distracted. When Ryan reached Marcus, he grabbed him by the shoulder and yanked him upright. "Enough showing off," Ryan growled. "Stick to the plan." For once, Marcus didn't argue. Together, the three regrouped behind a large rock formation, catching their breath. The Vrax circled them cautiously, their glowing eyes tracking every movement. It was clear they saw the humans as prey, waiting for the right moment to strike. "We can't win this by brute force," Ryan said, his voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "We need to use the terrain to our advantage." Elena nodded, pointing to a series of narrow ledges above them. "If we can get up there, we'll have the high ground. They're big and strong, but they won't be able to climb as easily as—" "We can," Ryan agreed. "Let's do it. Elena, you go first and provide cover fire. Marcus, you follow. I'll bring up the rear." The plan worked, at least initially. Elena scaled the cliff with practiced ease, finding a secure position to fire from. Her shots forced the Vrax to retreat momentarily, giving Marcus and Ryan enough time to scramble up after her. From their new vantage point, the humans had a better view of the arena and could see how the Vrax operated. They relied heavily on teamwork, coordinating their attacks with eerie precision. But even the best coordination had gaps, and Ryan was determined to exploit them. As the battle raged on, the humans adapted quickly. Elena used her rifle to target weak points in the Vrax's armor, aiming for joints where their scales were thinner. Marcus hurled rocks and debris at the reptiles below, keeping them off balance. Ryan coordinated their movements, calling out strategies and adjusting their positions whenever the Vrax tried to flank them. Despite their efforts, the tide of the battle shifted when the Vrax unveiled a devastating weapon, a sonic emitter that sent shock waves rippling through the arena. The humans clutched their ears as the sound waves hit, disorienting them completely. Marcus stumbled, nearly falling off the ledge, while Elena dropped her rifle, clutching her head in pain. Ryan fought to stay upright, his vision swimming as the world spun around him. Through the haze of agony, Ryan spotted the source of the attack, a smaller Vrax warrior carrying the sonic device. If they could disable it, they might regain control of the fight. Summoning every ounce of strength, Ryan motioned to Elena and Marcus. "Target the one with the emitter," he yelled hoarsely. "Take it out now." Elena shook her head, trying to focus through the ringing in her ears. She raised her rifle shakily, aiming at the Vrax holding the device. Her first shot missed, but her second struck true, hitting the emitter and causing it to spark violently. The sonic waves stopped abruptly, leaving the arena eerily silent. The Vrax roared in frustration, their leader gesturing furiously as they regrouped. With the debilitating weapon neutralized, the humans seized the moment. Ryan devised a risky plan. "Elena, distract them. Marcus, you're with me. We're going in." Elena nodded, firing a volley of shots to draw the Vrax's attention. Meanwhile, Ryan and Marcus descended from their perch, moving swiftly across the uneven terrain. They flanked the Vrax leader, who was shouting orders to its team. Ryan engaged the leader directly, dodging its clawed strikes and landing quick jabs to weaken it. Marcus joined the fray, tackling the creature from behind and pinning it to the ground. The remaining Vrax warriors charged toward them, but Elena unleashed a barrage of firepower from above, forcing them to retreat. With their leader incapacitated, the Vrax hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. The floating referee orb descended, emitting a bright flash of light to signal the end of the match. Cheers erupted from the crowd, though many aliens looked shocked to see the humans standing victorious. Ryan helped Marcus to his feet, both men battered but triumphant. Elena climbed down from her ledge, her face flushed with relief and pride. For the first time, the humans felt a flicker of hope. They had proven they could hold their own against a fierce opponent. As they left the arena, the team was greeted by curious stares from other competitors. Some aliens nodded in respect, while others whispered among themselves, clearly surprised by humanity's performance. Ryan allowed himself a small smile. They had won their first match, not through superior strength or technology, but through teamwork, strategy, and sheer determination. Back in their quarters, the team collapsed onto chairs, exhausted but exhilarated. Marcus grinned despite the bruises covering his body. "Not bad for our first try," he said, leaning back with a sigh. Elena laughed softly, shaking her head. "It was insane, but we did it." Ryan leaned forward, his expression serious. "This is just the beginning. There are stronger opponents ahead. If we want to survive this tournament, we'll need to keep improving." No one argued. They all knew Ryan was right. The victory against the Vracs was a crucial step, but it was only the first of many challenges. Humanity had earned its place in the competition, but the real test was yet to come. The victory against the Vracs brought a wave of relief to the human team, but it didn't last long. As soon as they returned to their quarters, cracks began to form within the group. The stress of the tournament, combined with the constant pressure to perform, started wearing on everyone. Ryan tried to keep things under control, but tension simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over at any moment. Marcus was the first to show signs of strain. After the match, he became increasingly restless, pacing back and forth in their shared living space. He replayed the fight in his mind, obsessing over every move he'd made and every mistake he thought he'd committed. "I could have done better," he muttered to himself one evening, slamming his fist into the wall. "If I'd been faster, stronger, we wouldn't have needed that stupid plan." Ryan, who was sitting nearby reviewing footage of the match, looked up sharply. "The plan worked, Marcus. We won because we stuck together. If you'd gone off on your own again, we might have lost." Marcus glared at him, his temper flaring. "Sticking together? Is that all you care about? Sometimes you've got to take risks, Ryan. You can't win by playing it safe all the time." Elena, who had been quietly sharpening her combat knife, in the corner, sighed and set the tool down. "Both of you need to calm down," she said firmly. "Arguing isn't going to help us prepare for the next match." But her words fell on deaf ears. Marcus stormed out of the room, muttering something about needing fresh air. Ryan watched him go, frustration etched on his face. "He's going to get himself into trouble if he doesn't start listening," he said after a moment. "He's just frustrated," Elena replied, though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. "We all are. This whole thing is overwhelming. None of us signed up for whatever this is." Ryan nodded slowly. She was right. None of them had expected the tournament to be so brutal or the stakes to feel so high. Every day they encountered new species with abilities that seemed almost supernatural. Some aliens could manipulate energy fields. Others moved so fast they were nearly invisible. Humanity's reliance on teamwork and strategy felt laughably simple compared to the raw power displayed by their opponents. Despite the tension, the team couldn't afford to lose focus. Their next match was scheduled for 2 cycles' time, and rumors were already spreading about their opponent, the Zentari. Unlike the Vracs, who relied on brute force, the Zentari were known for their mastery of psychological warfare. They specialized in breaking their enemies mentally before delivering the final blow. Stories circulated among the competitors about teams collapsing mid-match, paralyzed by fear or driven to madness by illusions. When the official announcement came, confirming the Zentari as their next opponent, the humans knew they were in for a completely different kind of challenge. Physical strength wouldn't matter here. It was all about the mind. To prepare, Ryan decided to shift their training focus. Instead of practicing combat drills, they spent hours studying recordings of past Zentari matches. What they saw was unsettling. In one clip, a team of insectoid warriors froze mid-battle, staring blankly at empty space before turning on each other. In another, a humanoid species screamed and clawed at their own skin, seemingly unable to escape whatever horrors the Zentari had conjured. "They're messing with people's heads," Elena said, pausing the footage. "It's not just tricks. It's like they're hacking into your brain." Ryan agreed. "We need to find a way to resist it. If we let them inside our minds, it's over." Marcus, who had rejoined the group reluctantly, snorted. "Easy for you to say. How do you fight something you can't see?" "That's exactly what we're going to figure out," Ryan replied, ignoring Marcus's sarcasm. "They're manipulating emotions and perceptions. Maybe if we understand how they do it, we can counteract it." Over the next cycle, the team worked tirelessly to build mental resilience. Ryan led meditation sessions designed to help them stay grounded during moments of panic. Elena practiced focusing exercises, teaching herself to distinguish between reality and illusion. Marcus, however, struggled. Sitting still and calming his thoughts went against everything he believed in. More than once, he walked out of the sessions muttering about wasted time. "You're not helping anyone by acting like this," Ryan snapped one evening after yet another argument. "If you don't learn to control yourself, you'll be the first to fall apart in the arena." Marcus clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. For a moment, it looked like he might lash out, but then he forced himself to relax. "Fine," he growled. "I'll try, but don't expect me to sit around chanting nonsense." As the days passed, the team began making progress. Elena developed a technique where she would repeat a specific phrase in her head whenever she felt doubt creeping in. It helped anchor her thoughts and gave her something concrete to focus on. Ryan encouraged everyone to adopt similar strategies, whether it was visualizing a safe place or repeating a personal mantra. Marcus, predictably, resisted at first. But after a particularly intense simulation, where a holographic Zentari tricked him into seeing Ryan as an enemy, he finally relented. "All right, I get it," he admitted grudgingly. "These freaks are dangerous. I'll do whatever it takes to beat them." By the time the match approached, the humans felt as ready as they could be. Still, unease lingered. None of them truly knew what awaited them in the arena, or whether their preparations would even work. On the day of the match, the atmosphere in the Nexus ring was electric. Spectators buzzed with excitement, eager to see how humanity would fare against the infamous Zentari. When the human team entered the arena, they were greeted with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The Zentari, meanwhile, exuded an eerie calm. Their sleek silver armor reflected the dim light, and their faces remained hidden behind opaque visors. The battlefield shifted once again, transforming into a labyrinth of shifting walls and pulsating shadows. The darkness closed in around them, broken only by faint, flickering lights that cast distorted reflections on the ground. Ryan immediately recognized the setup. It was designed to disorient and confuse, perfect conditions for the Zentari's tactics. The referee orb signaled the start of the match, and the humans moved cautiously, sticking close together. Almost instantly, strange whispers filled the air, echoing from unseen sources. At first, the voices were faint, barely audible, but as they ventured deeper into the maze, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. "You're going to fail," one voice hissed, sounding eerily like Marcus's own. "You're weak. Useless." Marcus froze, his eyes darting around wildly. "Who's there?" he demanded, his voice trembling. "It's not real," Ryan said sharply, grabbing Marcus's arm. "Focus. Remember what we practiced." Elena nodded, gripping her rifle tightly. "Stay with us, Marcus. Don't let them break you." But the illusions intensified. Shadows morphed into monstrous shapes, lunging toward them only to vanish at the last second. Ryan saw images of his family, long dead, calling out to him. Elena heard the screams of her parents, drowned out by the roar of an explosion. Each vision was tailored to their deepest fears and regrets, designed to cripple them emotionally. For a while, the team managed to hold on, repeating their mantras and focusing on the present. But the Zentari weren't done. A sudden flash of light blinded them momentarily, and when their vision cleared, they found themselves face to face with twisted versions of themselves. Mirror Ryan sneered, accusing him of leading his team to their deaths. Mirror Elena mocked her for being too soft, too weak to survive, and Mirror Marcus laughed cruelly, telling him he'd always been nothing more than a failure. Panic threatened to overwhelm them. Marcus swung wildly at his reflection, shouting curses. Elena backed away, tears streaming down her face. Even Ryan faltered, his resolve wavering as doubt crept in. Then, amidst the chaos, Elena remembered something Ryan had said during training. "They're using our weaknesses against us," she whispered, forcing herself to breathe deeply. "But we can turn it around. We're stronger than this." Her words cut through the haze. Ryan straightened, shaking off the grip of his illusion. "She's right," he said, his voice steady now. "This isn't real. It's just smoke and mirrors. Let's show them what happens when you mess with humanity." With renewed determination, the team regrouped. Ryan focused on maintaining eye contact with his teammates, grounding himself in their presence. Elena used her rifle to create bursts of light, disrupting the Zentari's projections. Marcus, still shaken but determined, charged forward, drawing the attention of the Zentari warriors. The tide began to turn. By working together and refusing to succumb to fear, the humans forced the Zentari to adapt. Without their illusions to rely on, the alien team resorted to physical combat, but they were no match for humanity's relentless spirit. When the final blow landed, delivered by Marcus as he tackled the Zentari leader to the ground, the crowd erupted in cheers. The referee orb descended, signaling the end of the match. Exhausted but triumphant, the humans stood tall, proving once again that they belonged in the tournament. As they left the arena, Ryan allowed himself a small smile. They had survived another test, but he knew the hardest challenges were still ahead. The aftermath of the final match against the Krelosians left the human team physically and emotionally drained. As they limped back to their quarters, the weight of what they had accomplished slowly began to sink in. The cheers from the crowd still echoed in their ears, but none of them felt like celebrating. Instead, they collapsed onto chairs, bruised and battered, trying to process everything that had happened. Ryan leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees, staring at the floor. Blood trickled down his temple from the wound he'd sustained during the fight, but he didn't bother wiping it away. His mind replayed every moment of the battle, the chaos, the desperation, the sheer willpower it had taken to keep going. He glanced at Elena and Marcus, both equally exhausted, and felt a surge of gratitude. Without them, humanity wouldn't have stood a chance. "You did it," Elena said softly, breaking the silence. Her voice was hoarse, her hands trembling, as she held a cold compress to her side where a piece of shrapnel had grazed her. "We all did," Marcus snorted, leaning back in his chair with a grimace. "Yeah, we survived. Barely." Despite his words, there was no bitterness in his tone, just relief. For once, his usual bravado was gone, replaced by something quieter, more reflective. Ryan nodded slowly. "Surviving isn't enough. We proved ourselves today, not just to them." He gestured vaguely toward the arena beyond their walls. "But to ourselves. Humanity belongs here. We're not weak or insignificant." The others were silent for a moment, letting his words sink in. It wasn't just about winning or losing anymore. The tournament had shown them how much they could endure when pushed to their limits, and how much farther they could go if they worked together. Later that evening, representatives from various alien species began visiting their quarters. Some came to congratulate them. Others seemed curious, asking questions about Earth and humanity's history. The Zentari even sent an emissary, a tall figure cloaked in shimmering fabric who bowed deeply before speaking. "Your strength is unexpected," the creature said, its voice layered with harmonics. "You are worthy opponents." Elena smiled, faintly, though she couldn't shake the unease of being scrutinized so closely. Still, the gesture meant something. They weren't just survivors now. They were respected competitors. Among the visitors was one of the Krylosians, the same species they had fought in the final match. Its metallic scales gleamed under the artificial light, and its glowing eyes regarded them with what might have been admiration, or perhaps curiosity. "You have earned our attention," it said, its deep voice resonating through the room. "Few have faced us and lived. Fewer still have bested us." Ryan straightened, meeting the Krylosian's gaze. "We didn't come here to prove we're better than anyone else. We came to show that we belong." The Krylosian tilted its head slightly, as if considering his words. Then, without another word, it turned and left, leaving the humans to wonder what the encounter truly meant. As the days passed, the Nexus Ring buzzed with activity. Teams that had been eliminated earlier in the tournament lingered, watching the remaining matches unfold. Humanity's performance had become a topic of conversation. Everywhere they went, aliens who had once dismissed them now greeted them with nods of respect. Even the referees, those floating orbs of light, seemed to acknowledge their presence differently, as equals rather than novices. But amidst the newfound recognition, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Winning battles didn't mean humanity was safe. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers far greater than anything they'd encountered in the tournament. If Earth wanted to thrive among the stars, it would need to adapt quickly. And that meant learning from the very species they'd been competing against. One afternoon, while exploring the station, Elena stumbled upon a group of aliens gathered around a holographic display. They were discussing advanced technologies, weapon systems, energy shields, medical advancements that made Earth's current capabilities look primitive. Intrigued, she lingered nearby, listening intently. When one of the aliens noticed her, instead of shooing her away, they invited her to join the conversation. By the time she returned to their quarters, her tablet was filled with notes and diagrams. "They're sharing knowledge," she told Ryan and Marcus excitedly. "Not openly, but if you ask the right questions, they'll give you hints. This could be huge for us, for Earth." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure they're not just messing with you?" "They're not," Elena insisted. "Some of these ideas, they're revolutionary. Imagine what we could do with this kind of tech back home. We could protect ourselves, build faster ships, explore farther," Marcus smirked, "or blow ourselves up trying." Ignoring him, Elena pressed on. "We can't pass this up. This is why we came here, to learn, to grow. If we leave empty-handed, we'll be wasting everything we fought for." Ryan thought about it for a moment, then nodded. "You're right. But we need to be careful. These aliens may respect us now, but trust is a different story. We can't afford to make mistakes." Over the next few cycles, the team dedicated themselves to gathering as much information as possible. Elena focused on technology, striking up conversations with engineers and scientists from other species. Marcus sought out warriors, eager to learn new combat techniques. Ryan acted as mediator, ensuring neither of them crossed lines that might jeopardize their standing. Their efforts paid off. By the time the tournament officially concluded, they had compiled a wealth of knowledge. Data on propulsion systems, energy sources, and defensive strategies that could transform humanity's future. It wasn't victory in the traditional sense, but it was arguably more valuable. On the final day of the Nexus Ring event, the Krylosians called all participants to the main arena for a closing ceremony. The massive chamber was packed with competitors, spectators, and dignitaries from across the galaxy. The air hummed with anticipation as a towering Krylosian leader stepped forward, its voice booming across the space. "This tournament has tested strength, skill, and spirit," it declared. "Each of you has proven yourselves worthy of standing among the stars. But remember, survival demands more than power. It requires unity, innovation, and courage." Its glowing eyes swept over the EA crowd, pausing briefly on the human team. "To those who rise above adversity, we offer alliance. To those who falter, we offer guidance. Together, we will shape the destiny of the cosmos." The crowd erupted into applause, and Ryan felt a lump form in his throat. It wasn't just rhetoric. It was a promise. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy. Not because they were the strongest or smartest, but because they refused to give up. That determination, more than anything else, had won them allies. After the ceremony, the human team boarded their ship, ready to return to Earth. As the engines roared to life, Ryan stood at the viewport, watching the Nexus ring shrink into the distance. The journey ahead would be long, but he knew it was worth it. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and though challenges lay ahead, they were ready to face them. "We did good," Marcus said quietly, joining Ryan at the window. For once, there was no arrogance in his tone, just quiet satisfaction. Elena appeared a moment later, clutching her tablet tightly. "And we're bringing something back that'll change everything." Ryan smiled faintly, his gaze fixed on the endless expanse of stars. "This is just the beginning," he said. "The real work starts now." As the ship sailed through the void, the three of them stood together, united by what they'd endured and inspired by what lay ahead. Humanity had entered the galactic tournament unprepared, but they were leaving transformed, armed with knowledge, resilience, and hope. Whatever the future held, they were ready to rise to the challenge.